Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap Podcast, the show for ambitious women who are ready to bet on themselves. I'm Dr. Angela Walker.
And I'm Dr. Sylvia Morris. And today we have a guest who is living proof that you can lead with your values and your spreadsheets at the same time.
That's right. She's a CPA, an MBA holder, and a finance leader at the Jane Goodall Institute, where she works at the intersection of conservation and mission-driven impact.
She made a deliberate leap from the for-profit world into the nonprofit sector and hasn't looked back. With a background rooted in accounting and a passion for meaningful work, she brings both sharp financial expertise and a big picture perspective to everything she does.
And outside of the office, you'll find her in Leesburg, Virginia, wrangling her pets and hunting for treasures at the thrift store. And we are here for all of it. Welcome to Boss Leap Podcast, Rachel Strittmatter.
Thank you so much for having me, Sylvia and Angela.
We are so excited that you are here. We have so many questions about you and certainly the Jane Goodall Institute, but we just need to be transparent. We are all Hoyas, and we met at the Georgetown University Women's Forum this past March 2026.
And I heard about you, Rachel, because of your fantastic outfit. And apparently that stimulated a very interesting conversation, and I couldn't wait to hear more. So we're just going to start where we normally start in kind of your origin story. Where did you grow up? What was life for you like coming up? And how did you land in accounting? Was it a calling, a practical choice, or did someone or something point you in that direction?
I mean, accounting and practicality kind of go hand in hand. So I'll touch on that for sure. But I'm from the wonderful state of Pennsylvania. Grew up outside of the city of Pittsburgh with my family in a small enough town where you knew most everyone, but big enough where we had enough interesting things going on in our lives, I would say. I grew up with my younger sister. That was my only sibling. And to this day, she's still my nearest and dearest best friend, which I feel really grateful for. And really doesn't come up a lot in career talk, but that blessing and that stability and that family really does help ground you throughout your whole life.
Absolutely.
We were raised in a really creative, joyful, high-performing household. We were really encouraged. Yeah, we were really encouraged to work really hard. That stemmed from our grandparents' generations through my parents. And I growing up now, or where I am now in life, late 30s, observing so many wonderful kids and teens in my life that I love. There's so much pressure I perceive. And I don't know if that's fair to say as a non-parent right now in life, but
absolutely.
There's so much pressure.
Observation.
Absolutely. Sports in Loudoun County out here in Virginia, it feels like all or nothing. Academics, all A's or nothing. And where that's landed me since living here for just under a year now is a lot of reflection as we just come to know and love these children and teens even more is, wow, we had it so good. We had this do well academically, play sports, play soccer, softball, volleyball, play the sports, all of it. Have the birthday parties, and I really have come to really value that balance in life. And that's really kind of, we were raised as, I would say, whole people, just not having to narrowly focus and have high pressure, but we still definitely had an expectation to work hard, whatever that would mean. And for me, that really transpired in academics. I did have some external pressure to do well and perform high, but it really was internal for me. It felt like something I could control, felt like something I could get my arms around. And I just really took pride in doing well academically, which led me to, of course, all of our childhood dreams, doctors, excuse me, Angela and Sylvia, the doctor dream.
Yes.
Firemen and astronauts, but I, of course, was one of those animal-loving kids that thought I would be a veterinarian.
And you came full circle. Wow.
There is such a through line to what we might talk about here today, in terms of having a foundation and loving animals, but realizing like kind of young, as I joined my father in every single veterinary appointment ever, trauma included, that loving animals didn't necessarily mean I wanted to medicate or operate on them. So coming to terms with that, and then looking at my surroundings as a teen and what I was really liking to do was the business world in general really appealed to me. I could really narrow that down. I was responsible for a lot of fundraisers, even started as young as lemonade stands. And
all right.
There's
entrepreneur spirit. Okay.
And there's such an influence from my mom because the woman does not do anything partially. So if her daughters were having a lemonade stand, we had the biggest signs, we had the cookie add-ons, we had music playing.
Like upselling people.
Yeah. And that really held through to me through college when I'm still running fundraisers and colleges against cancer.
Did you go, Rachel? Did you go to undergrad at Georgetown as well?
No, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I'm a very proud
Pittsburgh is beautiful.
Never been. I've never been.
It's a beautiful industrial city, and then the campus of Pitt, as it's affectionately more known as, is really in its own little urban center in an area called Oakland. So that's where my 4 years were spent.
We just with that one question, we could go in so many different directions. That whole can of worms that you just opened up about, how kids these days are growing up and pressured. And I think, Sylvia, I know I grew up the same as you. I mean, I played every sport. Tried every sport. Tried every sport. I ended up swimming was my forte, but did I try track and get left behind and all the things, but it was just what you could do. There wasn't the pressure where you had to join an elite team to be able to excel, and same pressures in terms of school. My parents had both gone to college, and they expected me to do my best, but that was kind of it. It didn't have to be a 4.2 GPA, and I think
4.0 was never good enough at a certain point somewhere along the lines, right?
I mean, who knew? So I think there's something to be said, whether you're a parent or non-parent, just to I think I've heard people kind of going back to that, is that not overloading the kids with all of these expectations, and let them kind of navigate and figure things out on their own. So love that aspect, and how you came about to your business and the it sounds like the support of your parents and allowing you to figure that out on your own. There's something to be said there too. So very interesting. And I'm going to add my last little veterinarian part, is that I wanted to be a vet also. Loved animals, still love animals. And I think I've probably said this on the podcast before, but I thought to myself, I think I would be too emotionally attached to animals than people. Doesn't that sound awful? Because they can't talk, they can't, advocate for themselves. I did have a question when you were talking. Was your dad a veterinarian, or you just went to the
No.
appointments with them? Okay.
We just grew up with pets, and I was the kid that wanted to go with him to those appointments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, you were
Awesome.
brave. Very,
Yeah.
very brave.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to do sometimes.
Yes. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rachel, can you tell us? Certainly, we want to hear about your Georgetown experience, but
Yes.
tell us about being at Pitt and how did going to the University of Pittsburgh really shape you personally and professionally?
Yeah.
It's a great question. Something I loved about the school, and something I forgot to answer in your question before, is how even accounting. And I'll make that really short and sweet. I was raised in it. My grandfather had 5 kids. He was a part-time tax accountant in addition to being a high school principal, of all things.
Oh, wow.
3 of his 5 kids were accountants, my mom included.
Okay.
My mom started her career in that. And so it was something I knew.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I liked math. I've already explained I liked the business world. So it's kind of like 1 + 1 was equally 2 in this scenario. And I knew it. And I also, as unsexy as it sounds, even in my late 30s, it was predictable and safe. There was a need for me to want to feel some sort of certainty over what I was dedicating my life and my income and my studies to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's why we went to
stability.
medicine as well. You know?
It feels, a lot of things clicked for that. So that landed me in the business school at the University of Pittsburgh. I loved that it wasn't too far from home. As someone, my hometown wasn't that town that most people didn't try to like run away from. If anything, me going an hour and a half away felt, at least in my friend circle, like the big city girl. So it was a big leap at that time to leave the comforts of what I would describe as like a pretty quintessential hometown.
And is your hometown closer to West Virginia or closer to Ohio?
Closer to Ohio-ish. Okay. It is northeast of Pittsburgh, but still very western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So it's a little town called Indiana, the town, not the state, which as a kid, you didn't even know there was a state of Indiana.
Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a college town. That's where my mom dedicated her whole career, starting with accounting and landing as an associate dean at the business college. So it just was a great example for me. And I really liked what she surrounded us with growing up. But the business school path for me just felt very, very energizing and comfortable at the same time, if that makes sense. And
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. We would grow up running around the halls of her buildings. Like she was that working mom that would take us with her. And I think that exposure and that drive really helped shape me too.
It's important. So then when did you know you needed an MBA?
Oh gosh. I was about 8 years into the workforce. And had experienced some time as a public accountant at one of the largest firms, which was
the Big Five. Okay.
Yeah, Big Four when I started. I think they dwindled from maybe at one point the Big Eight, but they kept consolidating and merging. So it was the highlight of my life to graduate in that field and get a position at one of those firms.
That's a big deal.
It was a big deal, and I still feel like it's my alma mater, if that makes sense, in a way. In addition to schools, it's just such a formative place to begin and spend over 6 years of my first years working at one of the Big Four. I worked for Deloitte. I'm very, very proud of that time and who I worked with there.
And all of those connections, in addition to your Georgetown connections, I would imagine help pave the path to where you are now, because that's a big community that is very well connected.
Totally. And I recognize, and I don't want to jump ahead, but what I do at the Jane Goodall Institute, I feel like I'm finding myself be so grateful for the 2 significant career experiences I've had before here. I pull from them so much. I pull from these. They were both my two previous work experiences before I became a nonprofit leader, were both large multinational settings. And I'll say I have never looked back. I've been at the Jane Goodall Institute for over 4 years now, never looked back, but man, am I so grateful for those challenging, high pace environments. Yeah. The expectations they put on you, and it could have been defeating sometimes because they're all about feedback, performance, next promotion. It's a rat race at times, but I am so grateful for the incubator of talent I experienced for those 8 years before Georgetown, before my career did pivot. And I think of them so fondly, and I'm so grateful that I experienced what I did there. But your question, go ahead. I'll pause. I didn't answer Sylvia's question at all.
Oh no, I think that was great.
Perfect.
No, I was going to say, I mean, for us, I think Sylvia would echo the same thing. Residency is kind of the same for us in terms of it's grinding, it's grueling, but it's sometimes just a rigorous, kind of feet, right in the water, running as soon as you get there type of approach to training is invaluable to what you do in the future. Because if you can survive that, you can survive, anything else in your career. But I am interested how did you, so you've got all this, this really juicy kind of, you're, entrenched in, the CPA with these big companies. How did you know about the design, or what prompted the MBA approach? Because I know CPAs, and that's all that they've done, and they're very successful. And so
you
what
can do that forever. I think I was reaching a point. I had left Deloitte. I was happily working for a large multinational corporation in Arlington, Nestle. I was really enjoying my coworkers, what I did there, but I was starting to think, okay, I left audit, right? I'm not going to be an auditor, an audit partner in my career. I was and I made that first leap, not to be cheesy about the name of your podcast, but I made that first leap. And what I've learned in my life is once I make that first leap away from something comfortable and known, even Indiana, Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh, I eventually leaped to Washington, D.C. I eventually left Deloitte and leaped to Nestle. I learned in myself that once I tear myself away from my comfort zone, which at the time was Deloitte, previously was where I lived, I'm really susceptible to continued challenge. And I think at my next career at Nestle, I was saying, what's next in accounting for me? And I had a very dear friend at Nestle who was doing the Georgetown Executive MBA program.
Okay.
And he's telling me all about it. His face is lighting up. He loves it. And he's like, Rachel, you should really think about this. Nice. And I'll tell you what, 2 weeks and I'm in. They're like, you can start in a class that's starting in a few weeks. And me, again, I'm still an accountant here, right? So our brains can spin with this type of change fast.
How much does it cost?
Yeah. And what do you mean? What do you mean? And I had a wonderful, wonderful boss at Nestle at the time. And she was so supportive. And I said, I need to do this now. I have, because with the executive MBA program, most of the folks are still working full time.
Yes.
You're going to class on weekends for 2 years, juggling your project work, your papers, your deliverables on nights and weekends. So you really need an understanding environment. And I recognized I really had that at Nestle. And I said, I'd be crazy just to watch this go by. So and all around that same time, you guys, I met my now husband. So 2019 was when all this leaping started again for me, when I'm deciding to commit to the executive program at Georgetown, and my life just starts changing again. I don't think I really needed the MBA. I certainly didn't really feel stuck at what I was doing. Nestle's huge, lots of opportunities, but I really liked school. I really did. I liked learning. I thought, I live in this city now in DC. That's when I'd lived here for a while now. And what a great way to like insert more roots here too, if that makes sense. Like,
yes,
really developing an alma mater here too, meeting the people that live and work here too. And I had this support system at Nestle at home, and I said, let's do it. So it was kind of one of those, I wasn't trying to cling to, I need a promotion, I need to get out of my field, so I must go do the MBA. I was in a really fortunate position to just kind of approach it with curiosity and what could happen.
To learn and grow. I love that.
How did you then move from Nestle? It sounds like things were great there.
Yeah.
Now you've got your MBA. But then how did the opportunity at the Jane Goodall Institute come up?
I think you're foreshadowing my favorite Georgetown story ever.
Oh, great.
Which is, I said I just kind of got in quickly, and they're like, you can come join our class that's starting. I didn't have a lot of time to process what was happening, what I got myself into. So one of the most notoriously difficult courses in the MBA program, or at least the executive program, is the statistics course.
Oh,
so difficult.
Say no more. Say no more.
So difficult, in fact, that they
and organic chemistry, they're the worst.
I don't know much about that, but I will say the statistics course at the executive program holds up to that. And so difficult, in fact, that they offer a prep class. I'm like, oh, geez. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I walk in, and being that I had just gotten into the program, I didn't even know what I didn't know yet. Come to find out, there was multiple mixers with the class, multiple orientations. I'm walking into this.
Rotating.
Yeah, but I missed all of it. Because of the timeline of my entrance into the program, I'm just basically finding out I'm in. And then they're like, in 3 days, there's an optional prep course if you'd like to start that. So I walk in my first time or second time after interviewing for the program onto the Georgetown campus. You don't know where to park. You don't know which floor you're on in the business school. I walk into the stadium seating. Everyone's, a lot of folks were older than me in the program, and I'm intimidated, right? Like, what am I doing here? And I sit down next to this woman. She has, I believe, a notebook with an elephant on it. And I think she had a pink pencil. And immediately I was
love it all already. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, I'm going to be okay.
My people. Yeah.
She was so warm and so conversational. And we talk about the elephants. I said, elephants are one of my favorite exotic animals. I want to meet. She's telling me all about her work in Africa and conservation and her run-ins with elephants and rhinos.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, my eyes are like this big. And we had an immediate kinship. And fast forward 2 years, she is my executive director at the Jane Goodall Institute.
Oh, wow.
So like that
connection.
Yes. Yeah. That is my story of Georgetown for me, and like one story.
It's how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So this nonprofit world, nonprofit finance, I'm sure is a constant balancing act. You already have kind of like your storytelling with data. You're a natural storyteller. We can already tell that. But you're dealing with the stewardship, compliance, impact. What does this great financial leadership you have look like in a mission-driven space? And for us and anyone listening, what do you wish more people understood about it?
It's a great question. And I will say the MBA plus the CPA is, for me personally, what makes my pursuit of great financial leadership here at the Jane Goodall Institute possible. The CPA, I kind of think of it as two different brains that I have the pleasure of having. The CPA is that technical, precise, compliant, you can rely on me. I have proven through this exam and my career experience that I can understand accounting complexities. I can run a good audit, which is proven true. So I get that. It gets you in the door, the CPA. But my MBA, I think, is what really set me apart to take on a true leadership role. Because I did transition from a managerial role into a leadership role, which was really scary. Into an industry I'd never been in before. But that MBA really helped me show the people that mattered at the time that I was more than just an accountant. Because when you start talking about leaders of accounting and finance, you need to be more than that, in my opinion. You need to be able to go into a boardroom. You need to be able to talk to your fellow senior leaders about the story of the numbers, the strategy. And it's not all just about, well, 1 + 1 didn't equal 2 here, so we have to make changes. You have to say, what else can we do? What else does this mean? Our budget looks dicey next year. Let's walk through that. Let's also communicate that and why. And that's what I think those two brains of mine, the CPA and the MBA, have really helped me grow into this role and find success in it. And I'm so grateful for that. So that's one thing I wish people knew. There's so many technical things I could list off if you or your listeners would be interested in it. But one thing I wish more people would know is if you're ever feeling stuck being a leader in this field, meaning you're great, there's so many great executors. There's so many people that are so proficient, more than me, at true accounting and all of its complexities and nuances. But if you're not comfortable telling the story of the numbers, if you're not comfortable leading an organization or helping to lead them through a change in the numbers, you will hit ceilings that will stop you from getting those higher level roles. So it can be uncomfortable at first, but I definitely advise anyone on practicing telling stories that are rooted in numbers, because that's what makes people understand them too. You can't just fire around spreadsheets and charts and expect the message to be heard. And if people aren't hearing your message, you're not going to find much success with your financial situation.
Sage advice. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because sort of the stereotype of an accountant or the CFO is that they are the numbers person, and they are. Yep. However, you have to help me or your audience really to care about the numbers. And you also, to lead people, have to let them know that I see what the number is. This is the person, the entity, the meaning behind this number, and we can get to this next point, although it may be painful or difficult, but there is a way forward. And when people don't understand that or can't communicate that in a way, then it makes us all sort of entrenched in our own positions. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. I do have a question about the Jane Goodall Institute. And as far as, have you, as the CFO, does that mean you have been to the continent of Africa? You've been to Rwanda? You've had that kind of experience? Tell us more. We're always interested in travel.
Absolutely.
I'm holding back some emotions to talk about it. And I'm just even hearing you say Jane Goodall Institute and watching both of your faces light up is so, that's how I feel too. Our work at the Jane Goodall Institute, I specifically am a leader of the US chapter. Due to our laws in the United States around taxable donations, we are also one of the largest chapters in terms of revenue generation, which allows us to support direct mission work in 4 African countries. Our Jane Goodall mission more broadly supports more than these 4 countries in Africa, but I specifically have the pleasure of working with teams and people in Tanzania, where it all started for Jane in the 60s, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, and the Republic of Congo.
Wow.
And something about I remember being interviewed for this role, and there was a lot of, you tell us how you won't just think in black and white. Why won't you just think in black and white? And man, does that resonate with me 4 years later. It's really not, it's a counterintuitive feeling for some accountants to not just think in black and white all the time. But when you go to I've had the opportunity to go to Tanzania twice and the Republic of Congo. I have plans to go to Uganda. And once you go to these places where I'm sitting behind my computer like I am right now most days. And once you go there and see what wonderful work my colleagues there get to see and do all the time, you are so changed when you come back to your desk again.
Yeah.
The numbers look different. The numbers around caregivers in the Republic of Congo, where we have 150 chimpanzees in our care. The numbers and the hiring needed, the infrastructure support needed, they make the numbers start telling the story you've learned, and it makes me truly better at my job. But more than that, like a better human. Because my colleagues in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been going through rebel warfare.
Yeah.
I was in Tanzania when an election hit or election came about. I don't know the word there. Internet was shut down. Planes were grounded. Our board members couldn't get out of the country for the day that they were supposed to. It just makes you realize that as a really results driven person too, like that I'm really driven, like we have to perform, we have to meet deadlines, we have to like wow the board, we have to communicate well, that you can't push beyond a reasonable limit on these people that you're not with every day, not understanding what they're experiencing. Internet. So it's really the emphasis to get this job around not being a black and white thinker was so clear to me so quickly. And it's really something that's really important to me now as even a person because of this role, is to understand that the people on the other side of the email or the computer, you don't always know exactly what they're going through and what they might need to be supported by you. Because ultimately my field is a support field to make sure the mission gets delivered.
Definitely. And along those, Ebola is kind of top of mind for me as a public health person, and I'm hopeful and prayerful that your teams in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda are safe and have whatever equipment they need to protect themselves.
So far they are, but it's a very real consideration that's important for a finance leader to understand and communicate to my team. I have the pleasure of sitting on the senior leadership team where I get to hear from fundraising and programs and everyone, but my team, they only hear from me at times. And it's really important to convey exactly what you just said, Sylvia, down. So you're building team members that have perspective that make them better support roles as well.
Yeah, Ben, such great advice. I'm hearing everything you say, and I definitely want to actually ask you a follow-up question just on Jane Goodall, but I'm reflecting on like CFO and people in that position in the institutions I've worked in. So the hospital setting, whether it was an HMO or, in a private practice attached to a hospital, or even with a large, insurance company. And you just, at the level of being a physician and a provider for patient care, there are times where you feel like if they could just see a fraction, maybe come to a grand rounds or walk the halls to see exactly what you're saying when you're saying we can't do this right now, because it almost feels like in medicine sometimes our hands are tied behind our backs. But great perspective from your vantage point and your expertise. I think that can translate into any field. As a financial officer in a company. But I would like to fangirl for just a moment, because I did see your picture with Jane Goodall. So I know obviously you've worked there for 4 years, and it's very unfortunate for her passing. I think she was just a phenomenal force, that one of those one in a lifetime people that you meet. But I can't imagine somebody listening to our podcast that doesn't know who she is.
I know.
But just give us a brief, your overall gestalt of what she meant to you.
If I could be responsible for one more person listening, knowing more about Jane, that would be a highlight for me, which is, someone that leaves her home in England in her 20s and the 60s, only permitted to travel if her mother accompanied her, which she did. And with this lifelong dream of spending time with animals in Africa. She tells if any of you or your listeners have ever heard one of her talks, she's famous for her talks and how she tells stories. She was inspired by Tarzan of the Apes. She has such a joke about he picked the wrong Jane. And
I have heard that. Yes.
and Dr. Dolittle, and just seeing this, she bonded so deeply with her childhood dogs. She would say that dogs are her favorite animal, not chimpanzees.
Really?
Yes.
She would say that. Yeah, that's a little known fact about her. But she really, and her mom was such a through line to all of her storytelling. And that really hits home for me, because that's the role my mom plays in my life too. And I just love that Jane was never, her mom was a through line in all of her storytelling. Wow. And also her just deep commitment to the animals. And she'll say, I never meant to be an activist. I never meant to even be a scientist. I wanted to be a storyteller. But the demands, watching her chimpanzees that she was studying lose their environment, and working with Louis Leakey, with the great ape trifecta, with the other women focused on other great apes. Her career guided her. I mean, she was an active participant in that. Of course, she stepped up to that, and she became and will remain such an influence in this space. One of my favorite things about Jane, or Dr. Goodall more formally, is the way she can influence any age range, the way children respond to her,
100%,
the way adults who experienced her boom in the 60s still feel connected to her. I really appreciate that she has cultivated that. And our work now at the Jane Goodall Institute is more important than ever. And to keep her legacy alive and play our, role to do that is just, it's more important than it's ever been.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Just a little insight, glimpse. Sure. I feel your feeling of how much of a privilege it was to be in her presence. Yeah.
True privilege. I'm so grateful I joined this organization when I did.
When you did,
I got the 4 years with her. Yes. I almost see it as what's the 4 years after now. Kind of like having that experience. I don't mean to sound selfish about it, but like working under a founder who's with us, who her ethos is guiding, to her relationships that are influential, to a really strong executive director, and the rest of our network, her grandkids are involved. We have other such wonderful leaders. Like, what does it look like? And I can't wait to see how we continue to succeed and grow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Meaningful work. Nothing that you can't say.
Yeah.
So Rachel, we're going to shift gears a little bit now. And thinking back to that young woman that was just graduating from Pitt, if you could say one or two things to her, what would you say to her?
I would say not being the technically strongest accountant in the room is okay. I was surrounded, now I see it as a gift and a privilege. I was surrounded by so many smart, talented people. And I was competitive, and I was used to being maybe the best or the smartest in the room, in certain rooms, not all rooms. And it was hard to get over my own ego sometimes, of really looking around and saying, wow, the way they were able to interpret that or handle that complicated situation, I couldn't get there. And that really daunted me in my early career, of just feeling like I was smart enough to get in the room and get the job, and personable enough. But I almost was like, should I be here? Did I personality my way to this job? And what I would like to tell myself is maybe a little bit, and guess what? That's okay, because some of those
That's one of your superpowers too.
I've come to realize that. And I have the help of a wonderful leadership coach that helps me realize that too, of just these things that feel like you're less than maybe,
Yeah.
I look back and I wish I could tell myself, don't worry, you'll find why this is a superpowered leader.
Very nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what you've just described, financial leadership, it can be, frustrating and competitive, high stakes, deadline driven, we know, and probably often invisible until something goes wrong.
Yep.
So how do you protect your energy and take care of yourself? Walk us through maybe some of your self-care non-negotiables.
That's a great question. And it is one that feels really real once you go from a cushy middle manager job where someone layers are ahead of you, then you go to the one signing things, like signing the audit, signing the Form 990. Like that's, it all of a sudden
That's your
feels
name on the paper. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really exposing. You feel really vulnerable.
Sure.
And especially those early year and a half of changing an industry and not even really, I didn't really have anyone above me at the Institute to guide me. I had support, endless support from my executive director, but unnerving and a lot. But what I would say is that I picked a stellar life partner. We got married 3 years ago, Matt.
Beautiful.
And that's, I realize it could be cheesy, but that is part of my self-care. I mean, right now we have 2 dogs and a cat at home who always pick the most inopportune times to bark, crawl everywhere. He has them sequestered in our basement and he's like, don't worry. He had a coffee ready for me this morning. So I really have been reflecting through, like, it took me a while in life.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. It took me a while in life and I often felt behind on finding that person for me, but picking them really intentionally for what makes a healthy life has really helped me with self-care. I also don't hesitate. I have a leadership coach. I have a therapist.
Can you? So I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
Yes.
Can you go back to the leadership coach?
Yes.
How did you know that you needed one? What does that kind of look like? Can you give us a little more granularity around a leadership coach?
I would just love to shout out Anna, our executive director, because she has brought in, and it was kind of controversial to do in a nonprofit setting when every donor dollar counts. She was really intentional about it and cost mindful about it, but she brought in an external firm to do some strategic leadership work with our senior leadership team.
Wow, nice.
And from what I know, over the years of the Jane Goodall Institute, which started in the 70s, not a common thing. And she said to us, the same firm offered the coaching. She said to us as senior leaders, I support you to do this. You'll have to pay for it out of your budget. With me as a finance person, I'm like, thank you for that clarity. But I support you and I believe in this as an investment to our people.
Nice.
And
that's leadership.
That is leadership. And that has changed me to see someone who knows that like she's had to defend that decision. But our board has been so supportive of it. It's made us stronger as leaders, which make us do better for the mission and for the money. So it has been, and I spend, an hour a month with a coach. It's, again, it's cost mindful. It's not excessive, but it really makes you think and talk about how you approach your work. The most influential thing I've learned recently is that we have a functional side to what we do, meaning me in finance and accounting, and I'm leading my team of accountants. And I was brought in here to rebuild that team. And I was so focused on that. But I also need to think like an enterprise leader. The senior leadership team is also my team and arguably the most important team.
No money, no honey.
Yeah, and we're a team. Like I think it's easy to think in silos of like, okay, well, I'm a department head. I'm worried about my department.
My department. Mm-hmm.
And to realize and look around our table, the 10 of us, that's what represents the senior leadership team at the Jane Goodall Institute, 10 people, and say, oh, this is my team.
Yes.
That has been transformative for me and maybe some others on the senior leadership team too.
Those are great points. And I consider them, especially, I don't have a leadership coach. That actually sounds fabulous. I've had, coaching in health and wellness space outside of medicine, and have a therapist. And I think the way you have to look at it, if you're having to pay for those things, it's investment in yourself. You invest in all these other things that sometimes bring you nothing. And it's just, it's investment in yourself. But kudos to, your leadership team and your leader that actually said, this is something that I think will be of value to you. Because sometimes we need somebody to tell us, this was helpful to me. I think it'll be helpful to you. So you're not thinking it's a woo-woo out there.
And not to be shy about being the person that shares that with your fellow senior leaders. And not to be shy about the fact that I'm one of the people that leaned into coaching, because it's kind of like getting therapy, which thank goodness has become more and more normalized. But it's kind of like you do or don't have to share that. But sometimes being the person that's willing to share it and provide an authentic testimonial, opens the door for other people to be like, oh, not so taboo. Maybe I do need to lean into that. Oh, I'm missing out. So I found that to be helpful to kind of be a little bit vulnerable about what you're experiencing within your own leadership team too.
Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly.
So thank you so much. I appreciate everything you mentioned, your self-care. I've never considered my husband as part of my self-care team, but I have to say right now I'm able to do the podcast because he is with my mom who has been ill. And so I guess I have to say that's part of my self-care as well. And it is something that I'm super grateful for. So I love that shout out to your husband. I have another question. We want to get you out of here, but we love to talk about life outside the office. And yours sounds fascinating. You're in Leesburg.
Yes.
You're talk about wrangling your pets and hunting for thrift store treasures. That's one of my daughter's favorite things to do. How does that life, the slower pace, the fines, the fur babies, how does that feed the professional version of you?
Gosh, I think that she's one and the same these days. And I'm not sure if that's the rise of working from home a lot more. I do have the pleasure of mostly working from my home office in Leesburg. We are Leesburg, Virginia residents as of last August. It's now end of May. And we've loved it. And
did you move from the district or closer in?
I moved from Bowie, Maryland, which is on the other side of the district.
Mitchellville.
Yes. Yes. Yep. So my husband bought a home out there before we met. We moved in there, got married out that way. But we moved to Leesburg for his career is more on the Virginia side of the area now. And I would say, our life outside for me is kind of one and the same, it feels like anymore. One of the reasons I love my role in the Jane Goodall Institute so much is I don't feel like I have to show up, I have to turn myself on in the morning or off. That when I decide to do some work in the evening, it's because I genuinely wanted to, or because I have a great leader and ethos here where if I needed to go to physical therapy for self-care or see my therapist or hit that yard sale down the street for 30 minutes, as long as I'm still showing up and acting and as a leader and getting my work done and leading my team, I can do that.
You mean they trust you to get your work done?
Me.
What?
Yes. It's not about how online you are at what time and I noticed this and that. I don't want to say that's what I came from, but a bit, I would say. A bit of it was how parked are you all day long to answer things, to respond to things. And
it's probably 99% of professional
yes
life. Yeah.
How, being green on the team shot, how long,
yes.
and I really tried to lead by letting go of that and saying, as long as work is getting done, we're communicating as a team, we're getting there. And that has been such a gift here and something I couldn't trade in the future, I don't think. And so also, that through line, just to kind of continue with the question, I can't not, is animals. Like just the fact that I get to work for a mission that is ultimately around trickles. It's so broad now at the Jane Goodall Institute. It's really about a better planet and conserving our land, our youth, everything. But it's so rooted originally in chimpanzees and their habitat. I've gotten to hike with chimpanzees twice.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
That fuels me because yes, I came back a better professional from it for JGI, Jane Goodall Institute, but I am so jazzed about that on a daily basis in my body that I get to bring that too. I got to help deliver food on the islands in the Republic of Congo to the chimpanzees we care for there and watch them come out to their caregivers and retrieve balls of rice and bananas. And it just, that feeds me in a way of just marvel. It's true wonder. Like you just leave and you say, this exists. This, and to be able to be here witnessing it, this isn't a tour guided program. This isn't a pay to play. I had to get here and I have to go back and be a darn good accountant and finance leader too.
Make sure this
but and then just around, I take a lot of pride in my home. It's like kind of a pivot, but it's a centering hobby for me. It's part of, I really, really love setting up the aesthetic that speaks to me. I don't care about what looks best in like a magazine or a layout of a floor plan. I really love creating something cozy. And to get there, I really loved thrifting, estate sales, anything. And it's kind of, sounds a little corny, but it kind of makes you open to like all the time to things being found that you didn't think about. And I think it really fuels that like playful fun side of me, which helps me just kind of lead with that too, to my people and my team of like being like playful and fun and like satisfying that side of myself outside of work, just like keeps that in the forefront from me. But I really have fun at being like, I have a pretzel Jellycat bag charm hanging from my purse every day. And just as I walk around with like going to a board meeting or something, I'm like, I don't want to forget that life is fun. And like, it's okay to be a serious professional woman who likes to be playful. And I try to recognize that.
I can see why you and Sylvia like had that connection right off. That's one of her favorite words is fun. And she's intentional. And reminds me when we're in an environment and a moment that it's like, this, take it in. This is a happy moment, and to say it out loud and appreciate that. So thank you so much, Rachel. This has been, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know if
Rachel, I actually have one question, and we probably should have asked this earlier in our conversation. But can you just give us a thumbnail on how your work with the Jane Goodall Institute, it supports not only the chimpanzees, but equally as important, the people who live in country. Yeah. So can you kind of talk about that? Because I think the focus is on the animals, which is important, or the primates, but the people. Tell me about how JGI supports the people in country.
I wish you could see goosebumps come on screen, but that's like Jane and her team at the time. I couldn't quote you the year, but it's not new. Jane and the Jane Goodall Institute were pioneers in this space called community-led conservation. It's sort of evolved into a little bit buzzwordy in the mission space, but JGI was at the forefront of it. I hope if some of my colleagues are hearing this, they're like, yeah, she's right, we were. But what that means is that chimpanzees need trees to live in and eat from. Trees go away. Why is that? There's landslides because trees are taken down for farming land instead. That farming
because I need
land,
to feed my family.
I need to feed my family.
A crop.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what an example might be that the Jane Goodall Institute might help with is, first of all, never going into a village in these areas and saying, this is what you must do, listen to us. Yes. There's pictures of my colleagues sitting on the ground with a map laid out with the whole village around them and saying, if you planted here instead of here, or if you planted coffee trees instead of corn, coffee trees regenerate, last longer, provide more stable income, take less land.
Wow.
You would have more trees. That also conserves the landscape itself, because less trees don't only mean less trees for chimpanzees. It means less trees to prevent the ground from mudslides and total degradation as well. So it's really around, like, maps have been a huge part of our work with the people of the communities we work in, and working alongside them and supporting them directly, and not just coming in and doing or thinking we know the answer without them. So that has been something I really, really loved learning here at JGI, and I'm so proud of that work that we do.
Awesome tidbit. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there one thing that we, as very Western Americans who live in cities and drive cars, is there one thing that we can do for the environment?
Reuse more. I mean, Jane was a marvel. The woman traveled most days of a year on airplanes. She had to do what she had to do to get places, right? But single-use plastics were a big thing that she wouldn't touch.
Yeah.
Okay. She would just say, nope, I will, she, reusing your things and your reusable, use a mug and not a cup. Like, just, that is Jane, her ethos was like, every little thing you do matters. Yeah. So whatever, if she would say, if you change one thing, it matters. And if you have one good conversation with your neighbor or friend about that thing, they'll matter too. So I would say just, the amount and the businesses we patronize, we're really careful about that, about, our online store. We have a small online store at the Jane Goodall Institute. We hope to grow it, but being really thoughtful about who we patronize and where things come from, I think is also really helpful. That's how I try to change my behaviors personally.
Vote with your dollars.
Okay. Yeah. Love that.
No single-use plastics, and we're voting with our dollars.
And you already set the example of thrifting.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Something to be said there.
I thrifted that bookshelf and that vase and that picture frame.
Love it. Love it. The whole setup. Love that, girl.
So, Rachel, this conversation has been such a gift. Thank you for pulling back the curtain on your journey and being so generous with your story.
Thank you so much. We're not often asked to tell our own stories. So to be even asked to do this and be in the position to think about it and talk to you both is a gift for me too.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. We learned so much. I had goosebumps many times during the conversation, by the way. You are truly the embodiment of what it looks like to lead with purpose. And we know our listeners are walking away inspired and ready to make their own leap and just following the leaps that you've made.
Great. But before we go, where can our listeners find you online, or where should they connect with you or the Jane Goodall Institute to follow your work?
We have a wonderful website that's redeploying at the Jane Goodall Institute here in June. So be on the lookout. Connect with us at the Jane Goodall Institute on Instagram. We have a great team behind our Instagram account. And me personally, I'm a LinkedIn girly. So go ahead if you'd like to connect with me there. I keep my Facebook and Instagram private. It's just mostly pet photos and my 4-month-old niece. So you're not missing much there.
Oh, I bet you're the best auntie. All right. We want all our listeners to make sure you follow Rachel and show her some love. And to our Boss Leap community, if this episode moved you, share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Leave us a review and keep showing up for yourselves. Definitely, if you subscribe to YouTube, we'd like to reach a larger audience and share these stories that are so invaluable.
Absolutely. And until next time, may you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. You know, it's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.